Alrighty, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, and welcome everybody to Zelda Link to the Past Randomized, where all the items are in random locations. And on top of that, with a twist. So this is a randomized variant where, instead of swords, I am going to get a King of Somaria. Now you might be wondering, but you always get a King of Somaria. That's not exactly that special, is it? But in this specific mode, let's see, mark all the crystals. In this specific mode, the King of Somaria is going to effectively deal damage as if it was a sword and can be upgraded accordingly as well. Which also means we don't get a regular sword. Also on top of that, because this is effectively Somaria mode, if you will, none of the other items are actually going to deal any damage. So bombs don't really deal any damage. They are just here to open up passageways and stuff like that. So I've actually never played this mode before, however I have played a lot of Randomizer, so I know my way around. So yeah. That's kind of the short version. For anybody who might not be familiar with Randomizer to begin with, because I'm actually going to highlight and put this onto YouTube. This is Zelda Link to the Past. It's a Super Nintendo game from, well, early in the gaming sphere, let's put it this way. So it's kind of a decently old game, but one of the recent-ish activities has been to just put Randomizer into basically every game. And this game here is no exception. In fact, it is one of the more popular randomizers that you can play. And the short version is, in order for you to progress through the game, the ultimate goal of the standard randomizer here, this is called open mode, is to get enough items to be able to clear all the dungeons that are labeled as crystals. Which dungeons are the crystal dungeons is also random. And then you effectively will take these 7 crystals up to Guinness Tower, clear Guinness Tower, and then defeat Ganon. That's effectively the goal. And the reason why I think A Link to the Past is kind of popular for randomizer purposes is because it allows you to kind of progress through the game in a variety of different ways. The original game is somewhat linear-ish, but the interesting thing about this game is that if you get different items, you can get to different places in different ways. So it just kind of lends itself really reasonably well to just play this mode here. And if I don't forget about it, I'm actually gonna put the link to the randomizer into the description. Also this one in particular, because that is a separate website. Although it largely looks the same because it's a branch off of the normal randomizer, if you will. So we just picked up flippers which allow me to swim in the water, and there is a number of locations that have opened up because without the flippers I wouldn't be able to swim anywhere. Now, because this is a bit of a different or an outlier from the regular randomizer, unless I get a King of Somaria, I actually cannot damage any enemies. And so I cannot even go certain places where you would normally be able to just go with the bombs. And I think we just got a King of Somaria. This is our first King of Somaria sword, if you will. Or Sword of Somaria. And as you can see in this mode here, I do not need any magic in order to use it. Which is convenient, because otherwise my only weapon would be dependent on magic. But now I can actually defeat enemies with this. And there is also a variation where you use bombs instead of the King of Somaria, which is also quite fascinating to say the least, because you effectively start with bombs that only deal fighter sword damage, then master sword damage, which is going to be the same with the King of Somaria, I suppose. Initially, the King of Somaria is only going to deal fighter sword damage right now, which it normally does in the vanilla game. But as soon as we get some upgrades to it, it will be Master Sword, Tempered Sword, and eventually Gold Sword damage. (1991) apparently is the game release, so yeah, that is really old by now, to say the least, but at the same time, still within the lifespan. Now the interesting thing about the bomb randomizer is that you can then swing your non-existent sword in order to automatically explode the bombs, so if you have never seen that one, that is actually also quite fun. But I have never played the King of Somaria variant. I'm really curious how it's going to play. Just generally speaking, not having a sword actually makes a lot of things a lot more awkward, but... well, we'll see. Right now it's effectively going to work as if I had just a regular traditional old King of Somaria, except that it doesn't cost any magic in terms of damage output, because King of Somaria is not usually a combat weapon in the original games. You just kind of stick to swords, because by the time you get the King of Somaria you can possibly already have a tempered sword, which is definitely a much better weapon compared to this little thing just not doing a whole lot. But hey, that's fine. So I'm going to visit the uncle. The uncle will have an item. Normally he gives you a sword and a shield. Today in the randomizer he gave me a moon pearl. The moon pearl allows me to go into the dark world and not be a bunny. Or in bunny state, if you will. As a bunny state you basically can't do anything, except for walking around and maybe pick up an item that is on the floor. So it's very, very limiting. Oh, one thing I probably should mention, how the tracker and the layout looks of the video, I suppose now, or stream. So, on the left you can see the map. Effectively, the green dots are locations I can possibly go to that can contain items and things that I might want to collect, or that could be the next location I should go to in order to progress the game. The yellow ones are things that I might be able to get, and there's actually a slight variation. There's like an orange one that almost looks yellow, but it's not yellow. There's an orange one that I can just see the item, but I cannot get it. So the differences between these effectively is that grey is also going to be locations that I have not yet visited. Red is locations I cannot yet visit, with some weird exceptions. And blue, or dark blue I guess, is locations that I would need to go through dark rooms in order to get to. Which is not in logic, you never have to do this in this game mode here. But you can do that if you are feeling fancy, or you're just confident enough in your ability to navigate the dark rooms, because unless you have a lamp, it's gonna be dark rooms. And purple is actually something I modified on this randomizer myself. Purple is the combination of it being possibly a sequence break or possible to get to these locations. Just consider it to be another yellow, I guess, where yellow usually means you may or may not be able to get the item. It's actually kind of unusual not consuming magic for this weapon here, it feels like. And we don't get anything. So I'm actually going to just take a death warp. This card here, no matter which armor you're wearing, always deals half a heart of damage, which can be curious because Ball and Chain Guard, he actually deals a quarter heart of damage when you have the red mail equipped. So these little green guards actually deal more damage than the Ball and Chain Guard if you have the best armor. Welcome to you, Karmaku, and also welcome to anybody else who might have joined us. I hope you're doing well. Alrighty, so here we're going to go through the dark room, because I have received a key. There's that. So what I'm not doing here right now is I'm just picking up the King of Somaria block and I'm holding upright until I eventually get to the doorway. You cannot move into a doorway while holding the King of Somaria blocks, that is worth noting. But in this room here there is a bunch of snakes. The King of Somaria block, convenient enough, is going to be largely protecting me from these snakes, because you just put it down and they walk into it. The snakes require 2 hits with the fighter sword normally to defeat. Equivalently right now, it is 2 attacks with the King of Somaria block. I'm just pushing the King of Somaria block in front of me because, well, she seems to make sense. And now in here there is normally the chest with the small key right here. But in this case, I just kind of navigated in the dark to open it. There's like some alignments that I use in order to do that. Now we're in the room with the water, where you initially get introduced to the red enemies, I guess, as well. There's 2 bats here, but we want to go up into this pathway somewhere. Kind of difficult to find, honestly. Just to the left, there it is. Alright, now we're in the room with the rat who has swallowed a key or something like that. And I'm trying to find it. There it is. It usually goes straight down from its far left position, so it's actually not too bad to get the rat as long as it doesn't escape from that corner, even in the dark. Alright, we got through. And this is not in logic, you don't have to do this. And if you get a glove, you can actually just drop down from the back of the sanctuary instead. Oh, we get a bow, that's actually kind of nice. So, earlier I said that the bow is not going to deal any damage, because in King of Somaria mode, or in Bond mode I guess, enemies, generally speaking, take 0 damage from arrows. So it looks a bit weird, because normally you just one-shot these guards with the bow, but that's just the nature of this. This is the King of Somaria challenge, if you will. We're gonna briefly check this over here. Then we head over to Easton Palace. Now, this is not exactly always true. There are specific enemies, the red Igors as well as the red Mimic enemies, that can only be defeated by using the bow. And this is still true in King of Somaria mode here as well. I will not be able to defeat these guys with the King of Somaria. I will have to use the bow for these enemies in particular. So Zasrala would actually have an additional item for us if I already had the green pendant. The green pendant is over in Desert Palace, but I couldn't clear that even if I wanted to. Speaking of could clear that even if I didn't want to, I'm actually going into Easton Palace right now. And Easton Palace is actually a red pendant right here. The red pendant you don't need in order to clear the game. All you need is the 7 crystals, and then clear Guinness Tower and you're done. So, occasionally there can be useful or required items even in the pendant dungeons. Which once again, those are randomized, which ones are the pendant dungeons or not. But often, if you're trying to go as fast as possible, especially in a race setting, you try to avoid going into pendant dungeons as much as you can, and you only go if there's not like many other possibilities where items could be left at that point. In this case, this is not a race. I have a timer, but I also don't really worry too much about it. But I also figure might as well just go ahead and do this here. Or try to actually, now that I think about it. Normally, the way you defeat certain enemies in here is by lining yourself up in the dark. But I can't use the bow for this time, so this is going to be a lot more awkward than otherwise. So this is not in logic to clear this dungeon until I in fact get the lamp, or at the very least, the fire rod. The fire rod actually can make it so you can go and get to the boss. Because as long as there's a torch in one of the rooms, the game will consider this to be, well, allowed, if you will. In this room, there's always normally 4 skeletons spawning, and maybe I'm just gonna explain this because I have time, this is not a race. In this room here, what I just did is I effectively entered the middle 4x4 tile set. What this does is, as long as you're out here, no enemy skeletons are going to spawn, but as soon as you step towards the middle close enough, a skeleton is going to spawn below you, about this distance, a skeleton to the right, same distance, a skeleton above, same distance, a skeleton to the left, same distance. So, what you do in order to prevent 2 of the skeletons from spawning is you enter the spawn zone, or the trigger, from above. So, I entered it here. And what this does is the skeleton that tries to spawn in the pot here is not going to be able to spawn because there's the pot in the way. And the skeleton above me that tries to spawn is inside the wall because I entered the trigger from above and it's just slightly too high up. So there's only the skeleton on the left side and the right side that I will have to take care of. And as soon as you step into the trigger, you can hit these skeletons with pots and range attacks, just not sword swings, basically. Everything but sword swings. But I could have also used the King of Somaria as block twice in order to do this as well, in theory. But that's just kind of an explanation on how this room works. There's the big key. There's only one unique item left, so each dungeon has always a map, a compass, and some small keys and the big key. In this case, you don't actually get a small key in any of the chests, so we don't have to worry about these. But this one here, we did in fact find the compass. We have not found the map yet. But effectively, Easton Palace has 3 possible unique items. Unique item means that it's not a dungeon item, like not a small key, map, compass, or a big key. And one of them could be over here in the vanilla big key chest. I don't know whether it's gonna be or not. But effectively what I could do is I could try and gamble on it's not over here and it just goes straight for the boss, and the boss is going to have that last item that is interesting to me. But because I'm not in a hurry, might as well just make my way through the dark room over here too. Alright. Get this chest, and this is in fact the last item out of here. So the boss has just a map, and I don't care about getting that map, so I'm out of here. I don't need to clear this dungeon because it's a pendant dungeon. The only time where I have to clear a pendant dungeon, even if the boss does not have an item, is if, very specifically, there is an item on the pedestal. Which is always possible, but always really unlikely. Simultaneously, it's always in the back of your mind. The way you can check whether or what the item is on the pedestal is you need to find the book. And the book will effectively allow you to read what is on the pedestal in order to just separately check it. And if you don't find the book, or the book is the item on the pedestal, well, then you just have to get all the pendant and just blind pull the pedestal. That was kind of fun. Also Azraella for the green pendant, true. That is very true, yes. The green pendant you normally trade into Azraella in the vanilla game for a pair of boots. And that is, well, just a random item in this case. Boots can be anywhere. Welcome to Mini Moldorm. I was just kind of hoping that I'm hitting the Moldorms on the left and the right side. But as you can see, this might be kind of tricky to do. Alrighty, just a bunch of hearts. More health is not bad, especially early on. And we have actually also acquired the Ether Medallion. So normally, in the vanilla game, you actually cannot use medallions if you don't have a sword. This might not be something that even ever comes up in a casual playthrough because, well, you can't really get any of the medallions except Quake without at least having a Master Sword to begin with. But because this is Sword Mode, I can actually still use the Ether Medallion, but it's not actually going to kill any enemies. I don't even know whether it's going to freeze enemies or not. But I can still technically use it. Speaking of technically using it, we did actually just get a glove right here. The glove allows us to lift up rocks that are otherwise too heavy. For example, this rock here I could not lift up until just now. And now I am lifting it up. So the reason I'm actually going back here is because I'm just going to look for a bit more. Actually, no, I don't need the money. Or not this way anyways. So what I want to do is I want to get enough money to pay off Zora. Normally, in the original game, you pay 500 rupees in order to get the flippers off of Zora. Of course, in Randomizer, it's just a random item. It can be a required item that you need to get, but you never know. So you could either gamble on, hey, it's nothing, you just don't worry about it, or you just try to procure enough money. So if you bomb blast yourself into this hole here, for whatever reason, you go to the Hula Hand Room. The Hula Hand Room is effectively a failsafe, where if you jump into a hole that's supposed to lead you somewhere, but the game does not know where it's supposed to send you, because of misalignment shenanigans, let's put it that way, it just kind of sends you by default to the Hula Hand Room. There is a variety of ways on how you can get into that room, but this is one of the easiest ways to accomplish going in there. You just open that, bomb blast yourself into the hole, and there you go. And in there is 225 rupees, and that is more than enough at this point to be able to just pay off everything for Zora. Also, the flippers are required in order to visit the hobo under the bridge. Normally he has a bottle for you. In this case, we actually get a lamp. The lamp is nice. The lamp is not just nice because it actually illuminates the dark rooms and all these dark room shenanigans I didn't have to do if I just went here earlier. But it's also nice because it is a fire source in order to light torches. And some rooms require you to light up the torches in order to be able to proceed through them. So only the fire rod or the lamp can help you in that, so to speak. Bomba's Medallion, as much as it is fire, it doesn't help. Alright, with the flippers we can also check out this part here, which is nothing terribly interesting. And there's also an item on the Zora ledge over here. So this ledge normally contains a heart piece. In this cane, oh, it's actually a cane upgrade. That's interesting. So I will actually have a level 2 cane very soon. I assume that just kind of works the same way as if you were to use a Master Sword. That's very curious. One quirk about doing bomb or cane mode, which by the way, there's also cane of Byrna mode apparently. One quirk about these modes is that... By the way, I'm just marking off a second sword here in the tracker. That's how this looks. Okay, one quirk about this mode here is you actually need at least a tempered cane in this case, or a tempered sword cane I suppose. Doesn't look any different. The bombs actually got different colors, but I guess this one does not. I was explaining something and I completely lost my train of thought. I'm sorry! I'm terrible at this. What was I going on about? Oh well. No, this should be tempered sword damage, which means these birds die in one hit. Also, apparently the little projectiles do in fact also deal tempered sword damage, so that's very convenient. You need at least a tempered cane for... Oh yeah, you need at least a tempered cane in order to defeat Ganon. So normally, in the vanilla game, if you get with the Master Sword to Ganon, you can just charge up spin attacks in order to deal effectively tempered sword level damage to Ganon. But because you can't exactly charge up the cane, actually can you? No, you cannot. Because you can't exactly charge up the cane, you have to get at least a 3rd level cane in order to deal any damage to Ganon whatsoever. So that will be a slight difference compared to everything else, I suppose. You did also just get powder. Powder doesn't open up any locations unless you have access to the bat in Kakariko, which you either need a hammer for, or you need Dark World access plus the Titan Summits plus the mirror in order to get there. And there's a cane of Byrna up there. I'm pretty sure it's not another Somaria. That is actually the blue cane. Which can still be interesting. Alrighty. There is only 2 possible locations. Oh no, it's not true. There is more possible locations remain. Okay, so if you get the lamp, it is entirely possible that the game wants to tell you, hey, you can go into Agonim's Tower now. So specifically in normal randomizer with either the lamp plus a master sword in order to get into the tower, or a lamp with a fighter sword and the cape allows you into the tower as well. So it's entirely possible that we will have to go and defeat Aghanim. Actually, we can't bounce back the projectiles from Aghanim right now. We would need a bug net. Probably, unless somehow the Guinness Somaria now works. I think in the bomb version of this, where I only had bombs rather than any weapons, you could not bounce back the projectiles of Aghanim without having the bug net. Or the hammer. Hammer works too, actually. But I have neither. I guess there should be another item. Oh, there's a hookshot. The hookshot was actually open up more locations on the east side of Death Mountain. So we go there. The only other location besides right there in Aghanos Cave, where you normally get a heart piece, is actually the sick hit gives you an item, or specifically the sick hit gives you the bug net when you have at least 1 bottle. Master Sword, not Tempered Sword right now. Right. You can still stun enemies with Boomerang as well as Hookshot like you normally could. So that's convenient. It also has a weird quirk because you literally can't kill anything with the hookshot, even though normally you can just one-shot bats and little critters like the snakes and stuff. Just hookshotting them is just gonna stun them, which initially looks a bit weird, especially for flying enemies, like the bats and such. For example here, I will be able to stun these mini Moldorms with the hookshot, but it's not actually gonna kill them. Normally it just straight up kills them. There's a shovel. But yeah, oh, there's the bug net. No, now we can go and defeat Aghanim. Like, unironically, I'm pretty sure that that is a very valid way of progressing through the seed here, apparently. Either way, another weird quirk, I guess, about using the hookshot and it cannot kill enemies, like it deals 0 damage, is that the little Octoroks, you know, the little red guys that are over at Easton Palace, as well as the south shore of Hyrule, or the lake, they actually shoot projectiles, the little boulders, and these boulders are actually considered enemies. And normally can destroy these boulders with the hookshot. But instead, when they shoot the boulders now, you can actually stun these boulders with the hookshot. It's actually kind of funny. I might show it off if I don't forget about it. Alright. Oh, I already... By the way, since this is not a race, chat, could you help me out? Did I check the item up there on Death Mountain? Or did I just straight up forget? There's an item on the floating island that I can see, but I cannot get yet. But I didn't pay attention whether I already got it or not. It was bombs already, thank you chat. Appreciate it, Blazer Flaming. Alright, by the way, in case you're curious, why do you sometimes you try to stun these enemies and then your hookshot just kind of retracts? Same with the Boomerang. Basically, they hear the hookshot, and when they hear something, or the hookshot can actually collide with other stuff. Actually, they don't hear the hookshot directly as much as they hear the collision with something, and what the hookshot actually collides with is their vision cone. So these guys here, they have a vision cone in front of them, which your hookshot and boomerang for some reason can collide with, and that is the vision cone normally that detects you where you are, and then they start chasing you. It's kind of strange. Either way, this is literally the last possible locations where we can get progression without having to defeat Aghanim. Otherwise, we just have to defeat Aghanim here. Oh wait, you infiltrated it. Oh. Not even picking up the shield? Nope. I already have the shield, that's fine. It's very rare for an upgraded shield to be particularly useful unless you have specifically the mirror shield. Which I guess I can't get the mirror shield. Actually, one thing that is probably worth noting. So, in the older versions of Randomizer, if you find Titansmiths, you immediately have Titansmiths. But in these more recent versions of Randomizer, the bow, the Titansmiths, and the glove, as well as the swords, as well as the shields, are... What's the word for that? And they are progressive, there we go. Yeah, they are progressive upgrades. Not sure why that word just kind of eluded me for a second. Either way, because they are progressive upgrades, means you always get the glove first, and then you get the Titansmiths afterwards, no matter which one you pick up first. So if you see in this case a Cane of Somaria block sitting somewhere, or a Cane of Somaria stick sitting somewhere, that is always going to be the next upgrade. It's never going to immediately skip me to the gold sword level of the Cane of Somaria, so to speak. Same with the bow. You first find the bow and then you find the silvers. You can always switch the settings back, like you can customize the settings for the randomizer to a pretty large degree. If you feel like, instead of finding the bow and then silvers, I just want to be able to find silver separately. You can do that. In fact, that has been the basis for some of the races in, well, actually the recent past. Also, I'm taking a ton of damage from these enemies, because I'm not sure how to handle these with Cane of Somaria, I suppose. One thing actually I didn't really know until now is that apparently exploding a Cane of Somaria block does actually make sound. And yes, enemies can detect you via sound. For example, if you plink your sword into a wall, that also makes sounds, and enemies can detect you through that. It's kind of neat. And it's not even something I remotely considered when I played this game originally as a kid. And welcome to you. You cannot think of having seen me run any of the 3D Zeldas. Any appetite there? Yes, but the main problem is actually having the means to play them. My favorite Zelda is actually Majora's Mask, but I don't have... Well, I have a German copy of it, and a German Nintendo 64, but that's about it. Which, by the way, if you're interested in the randomizer for these games, let's actually see whether Cane of Somaria can block. Nope, doesn't look like it. Let's try to explode the block. Let's see whether it hits. Nope, it doesn't. Okay, so you have to have the bugnet. So literally, our progression was in fact getting the bugnet up on that mountain in order to be able to bounce back projectiles. That's fun. Oh, by the way, the curtains were already out of the way. So, if you play Randomizer, and you might not realize this, you actually require a sword in order to get to Aghanim, not because of the barrier, you can actually just circumvent the barrier via using a cape. That works perfectly fine. The invisibility is just perfectly okay. But what you actually do need it for is to swipe away the capes at the very top of the tower. Similarly, Scalp Woods, you need a sword in order to get to the boss because there's vines in the way. And yes, the Somaria blocking this mode does not use magic. It effectively just deals sword damage, and everything else deals no damage. Can stun enemies, however. Alrighty, welcome to the Dark World. Immediately check the pyramid ledge, which normally has a piece of heart on it. Let's see what it is this time. Oh, by the way, in the vanilla game, you open up the menu in order to switch items. But if I press L or R, it allows me to just switch items, well, that way, which is called Quick Swap. This is not a trait of the original game, as you might be able to tell. But yeah. Now, let's actually check the map. Alrighty, and it looks like we have a pendant in Thieves Town, but everything else is required to be cleared in order to clear this seed. Which, unless we have the hammer, we cannot actually clear Palace of Darkness. So, here's a fun one. This is actually something that can possibly stump you. Effectively, if you have the flippers and the hookshot, and you defeat Aghanim, you can get to the rest of the Dark World by jumping in here with the flippers and swimming all the way around in order to hookshot across afterwards up there. In this case, I could have just picked up the rock in order to go through there, but I just wanted to show that off, that this is an option. Also, you cannot visit Catfish without a glove because you could not pick up this rock right here, but I have a glove, so it's fine. Quick Swap is in the original game, but it's not enabled. Really? Oh, Octoroks. Here, I just stunned this projectile. Trying to stun another projectile. There it is. It's kind of weird. They just stay there. These little boulders are effectively considered enemies for the purposes of the game trying to keep track of how many enemies you have defeated so far. It's really strange. And yes, you can still walk into them and they still deal damage. So this is not something that happens in the original game or even the regular randomizer, because normally you just destroy the projectiles, because the hookshot actually does deal damage against certain things, and those things does include these little boulders. But because nothing except the Somaria actually deals regular damage, with very few exceptions, in this mode here you can actually do this. Meow fish, indeed. Can you flow the sprites with the boulders? I've never tried. Could be funny. Let's see. This is actually a pretty good place to try, isn't it? Come on guys, actually try and face me in order to shoot. Did that guy just disappeared over there? Okay. The problem, I guess, is when they try to run off screen, they just despawn. Ah, come on. It might be a bit difficult to try and get too many sprites on screen. No, don't run away. Come back. Come up. Come up, buddy. Buddy! Come up. There we go. Honest. No, don't go back down. He's gonna despawn if he goes off screen. Go left or right, please. Thank you. Now, the problem is, of course, hitting these things. Oh, right, I can actually push these around some more. gonna just push him to the side, so he will not be aligned with the exit down there anymore. So we have 5 boulder enemies on screen right now. See how many more we can get. Might be a terrible idea, because I haven't saved in a while. Oh, that boulder is going to explode because it's in the wall now. I need to make sure that I don't accidentally hit them. Well, that's awkward. Could you... There we go, that works, I guess. No, no, come out there. Come back! Oh, I think he's gone. Oh, no, he's there. He just shot me from down there. Now he's gone. Oh, no, they're both back. Okay, I guess we're fine. And the other guy, oh, it just goes away again. Too bad. Oh, he's back! Starting to lag quite a bit here. The amount of things on screen. Oh, I think we're starting to see enemies disappear, maybe? Man. There we go. Oh, there's no more. Oh, no, there's more. For a second it looked like it was not gonna spawn anymore. Oh, I think we reached the limit. I think we cannot get any more sprites on screen. It can no longer do anything here. Alright, that was fun. Let's go. Completely pointless, but it's kind of fun to figure out these things. Alrighty, so with the hookshot we can go over to the rest of the Dark World. I could also just go into Palace of Darkness, and very frequently, if you have a bow in Randomizer, that actually points you towards going to Palace of Darkness, because there's potentially a bunch of items in there that you need in order to progress through the game. But in this case, I'm hoping to find a hammer before going to Palace of Darkness, just so I will be able to hopefully just clear the dungeon the first time I go in there, since it is a crystal and I will want to clear it. That's just kind of how it is. Right, up there, through the bumper cave, there is just 5 rupees. I don't care about getting them, so I'm not really going to worry about it. Oh yeah, catfish. I probably should mark it off. Maybe real quick about how the tracker works on the left side. I actually click on these things on the left side with the mouse most of the time. But I also have some hotkeys to activate items, like spacebar is for the mirror, for example. So, besides that, you can just kind of see all the items that I have collected so far. They are highlighted, etc. And here you can see effectively the bosses, and they also represent the dungeon chest next to them. So here we have Armos, and I have gotten all the items out of the Easton Palace. So this chest here, these 3 items represent the items out of Easton Palace. So now we're going into Skullwoods. Skullwoods only has 2 unique items, despite having a ton of chests and a lot of keys in it. But the unique items are only 2. But surprisingly frequently it does actually have something worthwhile or required in it. In this case we actually find a bomb boss medallion that is 1 of the 2 items. I'm just going to go ahead and check the other stuff too here. Skullwoods loves to have something good, it does indeed. Hey Rick, welcome. How are you doing today? So that chest normally contains the big key to Skullwoods, which allows you to get the fire rod. Funnily enough, you actually don't need the big key itself in order to get to the boss, so that one is completely optional as long as you have the fire rod in order to get to the backside of Skullwoods to begin with. But I don't have the fire rod, so there's that. And good evening to you as well, Salazio. I hope you're doing well. And enjoy your jelly before bedtime. Does the block of Somaria hurt enemies? It does indeed. In this case, we have already picked up 2 King of Samarias, which means we have a level 2 King of Samaria, so it deals effectively damage the same way a Master Sword would in the original game. And once again, no enemies can actually be hurt by anything except for the King of Samaria blocks. So there's that kind of interesting restriction, I guess. Alrighty, we have not found the second item in Skullwoods, but at this point it has to be in the backside, because... Actually, did I get the big key? I didn't pay attention. No, I didn't. At this point, it has the item has to be in the backside, where Mothula is. So it's most likely, in fact, on Mothula, because Mothula never had a small key, only a... well, anything else really. So we need a fire rod in order to get the second item out of there. So, now one of the interesting things here is as well, since if you try to be efficient and quick about clearing these seats, you don't want to go into Pendant dungeons. But Thieves' Town is effectively the Dark World dungeon that as soon as you have access to Dark World, you usually can just straight up go and clear it if you're, well, confident enough, I guess. Because it is kind of tricky and mildly dangerous at times. But for the most part it's really not particularly much of a hurdle in terms of which items you need in order to be able to clear the dungeon. And in this case I don't want to clear the dungeon because it's a pendant. But we're gonna go inside anyways. Blind is actually one of the few bosses which you can reasonably defeat with the King of Samaria to begin with, curiously enough. Because Blind actually does not care on how much damage your weapon does. All you need to do is you just need to hit Blind 3 times in order to go to phase 2, 3 times to phase 3, and then 3 times to defeat it, and that's it. The damage does not matter as long as you deal some damage whatsoever. That is item number 1 right here. And yes, Blind can... exactly. King of Somaria is actually decently efficient, I suppose, to defeat Blind with, if you don't know the standard pattern with the sword. Right, that is 2 unique items so far out of this dungeon. And I'm just gonna go ahead and walk my way through the rest, I suppose. Might as well. One thing that is kind of worth noting, even if I were in a race, I'm actually still going to the backside here in order to clear this dungeon right now. And the reason is because the way I have to get over here to the Dark World is I need to go through the Aghanim portal, which is at Hyrule Castle, then go all the way around the top side of the Dark World in order to get to here. So it is actually a pretty lengthy trip, especially without having boots. So considering that, I definitely want to try and see whether I can get everything before, well, potentially having to backtrack here. Let's say the hammer or the Titansmith is back here. This would be quite a detour to get back here if I were to decide to skip out on this backside of Thieves' Town for now. Potentially. There is the 3rd unique item from here. And right now I don't really have a whole lot to say. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them right now, because right now I have time to answer them, I suppose. Which I suppose is not technically true for if you watch this on YouTube as a highlight. But yeah, close enough. Actually, I just stunned this enemy and then killed him. Stun drops in the vanilla game is always 1 rupee. But this is also randomized in the randomizer, so you can actually potentially get fairies as a stun drop from the enemies, which can be quite funky. Because you stun an enemy, and then you kill them, and you just get a fairy for free every time. Easy health refills. But in this case, we get small magic containers, which are still useful. Not amazing, but quite nice. Alright, welcome to blind. As mentioned before, damage, how much I deal, it does not matter. Just need to hit blind. And Somaria blocks work actually quite well for this. So just put it here, blind walks into it, explode it, put one more, and there we go. And we're gonna try and repeat this once more. There we go. And that's it. So the little fireballs deal 1 heart of damage to you, whereas the head, if you run into the head or the body of blind itself, it's gonna deal 2 hearts of damage to you on green mail specifically. If you have mail upgrade, just kind of half that damage, except the fireballs, they still deal 1 heart of damage. So if you have to take damage because there's just too much stuff on screen, with green mail you preferably get hit by the little fireballs, but with red mail you prefer to get hit by the body or the head directly, curiously enough. And yes, we actually did find all the items in Thieves' Town, so we do not have to worry about returning back to the big chest in Thieves' Town. Because getting back there could potentially take a while, and the reason I didn't go there to begin with is because you need the hammer in order to, well, reach the big chest. I don't have a hammer yet. So over here we have the digging game. In the vanilla game it's actually quite different. Here in randomize it's just between 1 and 30 digs that you need to dig at random. So it can potentially be pretty quick with just, well, dig number 6 right here. Or you can have to dig up to 30 times. You do not need the shovel in order to dig. I do, however, have a shovel, which means I can dig anywhere. By the way, can dig up random items, like a fairy for example. So there's that. Alrighty, we're coming up to Stumpy. Stumpy normally gives you the flute in the vanilla game, but here we might get something else. Nothing here. Alright, and there's one more item location that I can access on this side of the Dark World, otherwise I will have to go back around and head into Palace of Darkness, which I kinda figured probably has an item. As mentioned before, if you have a bow, chances are you have to go in there. But I was kind of hoping to find a hammer first. So let's see. The reason why this is called Hype Cave is because in early versions of the randomizers, the distribution algorithm actually heavily favored locations that were unlocked by other items, and Hype Cave has 5 unique items. Oh, there's a Titansmith, that's neat. This has 5 unique items. And it can actually be quite nice to find these. But yeah, in current versions of Randomizer, Hype Cave is often just, well, 5 items pretty decently close together, so it will occasionally have something useful, and it's a quick 5 item check. But it usually is not as hype anymore, but this one was pretty good. We got the Titansmiths, now I can lift up the heavy rocks, the dark ones, as well as... Oh my goodness, go away please. Now I can lift up the heavy rocks as well as having received the silver arrows. In regular randomize you actually do not need the silver arrows in order to defeat Cannon. You can actually just do specific timing with sword spins in order to defeat Cannon instead, because he's vulnerable without silver arrows in a very specific timing window. And that timing window is ridiculously difficult to hit if you don't use sword spins. Still possible, but yeah. Because this is not with a sword, I probably need the silver arrows in order to defeat Ganon. I say probably because the bomb randomizer had an interesting little quirk at the end. Are arrows any use in this mode? Yes, the use for arrows is to open up passages, hit switches, hit arrow-only switches like the statue in Palace of Darkness here specifically, as well as the red mimics, as well as the red Igors can only be hit via the bow still. Even though anything else cannot be hurt by the bow, the enemies that are only specifically vulnerable to the bow can still be hit by the bow. Alrighty, Palace of Darkness has a grand total of 6 small keys in a chest, and 4 of them you will always find in the front 6 chests, curiously enough. So this chest on the left, the chest below us, this chest on the bridge here, the 2 chests on the right side, including this one on the ledge over there. 2 of them will always contain... well, 4 of them will always contain small keys, guaranteed. So here we found the first not small key. And, well, let's see, there's going to be one more not small key in the next 3 chests, and I'm kind of hoping I find the, well, specific thing I'm looking for over here. Now, worth noting, I actually cannot kill these green mimics with the bow. Even though those are silver arrows and deal 50 damage, I have to use the King of Somaria. It's kind of funky. Also, I don't have a mirror, and I don't have an easy way to backtrack through this area here, so I'm intentionally taking a bunch of damage here. In order to effectively death warp back to the entrance. Alright, we did actually find the big key right here. This does in fact mean that the other chest that you see in the center podium, as soon as we go through effectively the entrance hall again, is actually gonna be guaranteed a small key in this mode. Kinda weird seeing these squids not die to the hookshot. That chest on the left, as mentioned, that is guaranteed a small key because of how it works. I guess the one other thing that can still deal damage is throwing pots at enemies. That's kind of neat. Wonder whether bombs still work. No, bombs do not deal any damage. Interesting. Alright. Let's see what we have over here. There's a Rupee Room. We have mostly enough rupees, so I'm not gonna worry about collecting too many of them. We do it right now with my current route, have 3 small keys, and what this means is there is actually something, or, well yeah, something worthwhile, or potentially worthwhile in the chest down here. If I had 2 small keys only with the route I took, this would also be a small key. Because the randomizer effectively always has to make sure that no matter how questionably you use your small key distribution, it will have to make sure that you can still clear the game. Which actually, funnily enough, makes it so that it is not possible for the game to generate a completely vanilla ROM just randomly. Because that dark room I was in cannot have any small keys in the randomizer, and in the vanilla game it does in fact have a small key. Because there's some ways you could use the small keys up where you can get stuck without being able to go in there. Have you ever run Key Sanity? Yes, I like Key Sanity. So, one thing I actually completely forgot Oh, by the way, the reason why I went out of Palace of Darkness is because I got all the unique items out of there. I forgot that I can, with the Titansmiths, go into the Dark World over in Eastern Mountain, and there is 6 more items over here that we can acquire. So this is probably what I need to do. Or, at this point we can also go and save the Froggy. And deliver the purple chest. Which would be a really, really long and slow thing to do. But possible. Oh yeah, blue armor just gives the Mog little pumps. Ah, we got a mirror out of this chest here. Now the mirror allows us to go from the Dark World back into the Light World, and that actually opens up a variety of locations as well as passageways that we didn't have access to until now. So that is actually quite interesting. Also, I will... well, no. Normally I would go and check the Medallion requirement for Turtle Rock, but I have all 3 medallions, so I guaranteed have the correct medallion that we need. In vanilla game you just need Quake in order to open up Turtle Rock, but of course in Randomizer that is random. You don't know whether you need Quake, Bombus or Ether. And none of the hookshot chests had anything particularly useful, but let's see, just double checking up here. Just to see. Okay, it was 20 rupees. So we don't need to worry about the floating island. This is the item that I kind of just straight up forgot about. That's alright. So now we can use the mirror in order to head over to Tower of Hera over here. As well as we can actually pick up the Cane of Byrna from over there on the left side, the little ledge. Cane of Byrna is just going to give us invulnerability but not deal any damage to items. Alright, there's a small key. And Tower of Hera has 2 unique items. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to do a Hera pot. So, because I have time, this is not a race, let me explain. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to clip myself slightly into this pot right here. And if you're slightly further inside, you can use the hookshot in order to hookshot to the other side of the pot here on this side, which the center is actually not technically solid. It's just kind of a little ledge on the surrounding. So if I clip myself into the pot just well enough, it allows me to hookshot in and then drop down the pot. You can actually fall... actually, I'm gonna show this off afterwards. So this pot here has a fairy fountain under it. So I'm just gonna align myself in specific ways, bomb myself into the pot, then I can hookshot. I have to press to the left briefly in order to align myself, and then I can just walk in here. There's some fairies here. So, the normal way how you get into the fairy pot is actually dropping down through here, if you don't notice. So, this is the top of the Tower of Hera. And you just drop down there in order to drop into a pot, and you basically drop down all the way through the Tower of Hera into this fairy room. It's actually kind of fun if you have never done this one. And consequently, the teleporter also brings us all the way back up here. Now, I have... oh, made a mistake, I suppose. That's fine. That's not good enough. You have a 2-pixel window in order to blast yourself across here without falling down, and I messed up. Messing up here is actually kind of really bad because you fall down 2 floors rather than the usual, well, 1 less. I'm just gonna go back up there. Ah, really? Come on, buddy. This should be fine. There we go. So, the thing I did wrong, actually, there's a different way of... like, I could have just hookshot to the big chest, but I would have guaranteed had to drop down, but if I bomb, I would not have to do this. So if you step on that star over there and drop in this hole from above, you can actually get to the chest and then just walk straight back. That is kind of more efficient. Kinda messed it up earlier, but hey, it's fine. You cannot stun these little dinosaur thingies with the hookshot. They actually just resist it. Oh yeah, that's a good point. The dungeon music actually reflects whether it's a crystal dungeon or a pendant dungeon. In this case, this is effectively the Dark World dungeon music normally, but because it is randomized, can you actually hit the thing with the... Ah, you can. That's fun. Hairy worm. He just knocks himself out. Yeah, either way, the music is basically crystal music or pendant music, depending on mode. It is true for this open mode here, I guess. Alrighty, we have cleared everything, except we don't have the last item on the Tower of Hera. So there's a pretty lengthy or slow thing we can do in order to get that last item, and I'm just gonna do it. Basically a coffee break. Oh. Don't usually activate these with the King of Somaria. Oh wow! Benny Molten just got sniped from all the way down there. Alright, I'm actually going to real quick fill up my water jug, so I'll be right back. Alrighty, I'm back. So, let's see. We need to light up these torches in order to make the chest appear. This is normally the big key. In this case, it's actually a book. This is one of the most convenient spots a book can be, because the book allows you to get the items off of the tablets. And one of the tablets is right here with the ether tablet. So you actually need at least a Master Sword in order to get the item off of here, so that is something worthwhile to keep in mind. Now, we actually can technically get into Desert Palace. Oh my goodness. We can actually clear, or potentially clear, all Pendant dungeons right now. So there could be something required on pedestal, like there could be a hammer on pedestal right now. Oh, that's kind of funky. That's unusual. It's probably not going to be, but it's entirely possible. Alright, we go back over to the Sanctuary. You can actually use the mirror in the Sanctuary because it sets your exit point at the entrance of the Sanctuary, and that is slightly faster than walking outside. Efficiency. So, thanks to having the Titansmith, we can now go over here into the Dark World from the front. But I'm actually going to go ahead and make a quick detour to check what is on the pedestal. Because I think I've never ever seen the hammer on the pedestal, but this is possible that the hammer is right here, right now. So I'm going to be very curious about that. By the way, the overworld enemies change enemies change in the light world when you have defeated Aghanim. And some tree poles too. Okay. Nothing on the pedestal, so we don't have to worry about going back to Easton Palace. That is good to know. The main downside right here is that it's gonna, well, be quite a bit of a detour to go back around. Rude. Go back around to get into the Dark World, because from the back you actually need a hammer in order to go into the Dark World. I don't have a hammer yet. But at least we don't have to go all the way around anymore. So that's a plus, I suppose. We're just going to start checking locations. Now, because I kind of plan on turning this video here into YouTube highlight. Exclamation mark YouTube for anybody who is watching on Twitch if you'd like to have highlights, and let's be honest, a more convenient format of watching the highlights and VODs to be watched over there. I also put them into playlists and label them and stuff like that. Now, I actually kind of wanted to mention something, and that is about subscribing on YouTube, because why would you ever do that to somebody you don't consistently watch? Like, I would not subscribe to my channel because it's one of these things where I like to watch series of videos, but I don't care about everything. Most of the time, I don't care about everything a certain person puts out onto their channel. Like, specifically a channel like mine, I would not watch every video because they are way too long, it's way too much of a commitment. So there's that. The only other reason why I would subscribe to YouTube channel is for, well, to then get some support, I suppose. But then that kind of has the downside that the subscription inbox for me is going to be very messy, and I don't care about watching everything in there to begin with, and I only subscribe to channels where if they put out a new video, I just probably want to watch that the same day. So it's just kind of one of these things where I keep hearing people say, don't forget to like and subscribe. I don't mind just kind of giving them a like, because I usually watch the videos that I like, right? So might as well just give them, oops, the thumbs up. There's nothing in here. But simultaneously, I'm not gonna subscribe because I don't want my inbox in YouTube to be this full. So I'm just kind of curious, what is your stance on that, everybody? Oh, take care, Salasio. Thank you for dropping by and have a good time. I'm also kind of asking to anybody who may watch this on YouTube, because I'm kind of curious what your opinion about this is, because again, my channel that I have on YouTube right now, it's basically just highlights from the streams. More easy and convenient to watch than on Twitch, because Twitch's interface is not that great for highlights, really. Especially not finding them. But yeah, I'm just curious what people think. You don't subscribe to anything on YouTube? Yeah, that's fair too, because that's kind of what I did for the longest time. It's like, yeah, I just know this channel, I will occasionally just kind of come back to them. In fact, I still do that. Most channels that I regularly watch, I'm not subscribed to. I'll just occasionally remember that they exist and then binge watch whatever they have put out. You do subscribe, but you really dislike some channels clogging up your list with a bunch of videos. Which, by the way, is the reason, at least on my channel, why I kind of scheduled them to be released one at a time rather than all the time, because I may have done that in the past. Exactly, you subscribe to somebody on YouTube because you get their, well, videos then in my subscription, because you may want to watch them. from a viewer perspective, there's not much of an incentive besides that to subscribe on YouTube, right? But from a creator perspective, it would be really nice if people subscribe, because that kind of tells the YouTube's algorithm that, hey, you're doing a good job and people are actually enjoying your videos and like watching them, so maybe suggest these videos to other people as well. Oh hey, look, boots. That's nice. So it's always one of these things where I sometimes just kind of feel bad when it's like, no, I'm not gonna subscribe to you as many times as you ask, because I don't want to clog my subscription inbox. But there's like 3 channels that I subscribe to, where I just like the personality that much that even if I not watch all of their videos, well, I just want them to be more successful, hopefully. Hey look, a nice road, that's nice. By the way, I kind of completely forgot to keep track of doing commentary for this run here. So what I did just now is actually basically the ghost delivery of the blue chest. So the purple chest, this guy here in the light world, actually opens up your purple chest, normally contains an empty bottle in it. But in the randomizer, or generally speaking what you can do, the game keeps track of who your last follower is. And if I basically teleport to the light world, it does not update my follower list, or what is following me, or supposed to be following me, until I lose my invincibility frames in the light world. So consequently what I just did is I just left the purple chest behind, and I delivered it because while I was blinking, the game still thought I had the purple chest behind me. Alrighty, where was I? I have boots now. Boots actually give me access to some more item locations. That does in fact include Desert Palace, where I am literally right now. That's kind of funny. And yeah, the chest basically, you need to pick it up. And if you ever go to the light world, you basically need to deliver that first time you go to the light world within the invulnerability frames right there. Otherwise, the game will just kind of go, oh, you don't have the purple chest anymore, it's gone now. It's kind of an interesting interaction, I guess. Also, I need to try and catch up on chat real quick, because people are actually answering the question. I'm so used to so many people usually lurking, so I don't get that many responses usually. The more a creator tells you to subscribe, the more likely you are to unsubscribe. Well, I understand. Oh, hey, look, we have level 3 Somaria blocks now. Basically tempered sword damage now. So basically, I understand what you're saying. I know way, but just like, really? Ah, come on. But yeah. Let's see, there's one more item in here. One more unique item, and the boss actually has the green pendant, which we can turn into Zazrala for an additional item, so we might as well just go and defeat the boss, right? In fact, the boss is just for the green pendant. And it's decently likely that the boss is actually what we're looking for the second item here. Because on Twitch everyone says a follow is a free, give them a follow, and many people just do it. On YouTube it's free, but people treat it differently. Oh, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting comparison actually. I mean, yeah, a follow on Twitch doesn't cost anything, a subscription on YouTube doesn't cost anything. By the way, watching on Twitch doesn't cost anything either. Outside of some very specific channels, I suppose. But yeah, I think the reason is because you don't really see people online all the time, and if they have completed their stream, you don't have them in the follow list anymore, I would guess. Whereas if you... It is a bit different. I'm actually not entirely sure how I would frame it. I would need to think about that. But it's an interesting comparison. Either way, I was just kind of curious what the general idea and opinion about that is. Oh, I guess one thing actually about the Somaria block here. I'm pretty sure normally Somaria blocks incur more invulnerability frames on enemies that are hit by this kind of Somaria block than it does here. Because the sword normally actually has, or makes the enemies have less invulnerability frames than most other weapons and tools. Which is actually a very subtle difference I didn't realize until I placed the bomb randomizer. Since normally the bombs actually have quite a bit of invulnerability frames on enemies, but in the bomb randomizer, enemies were vulnerable occasionally twice within the same bomb blast, which does not normally happen. So I was kind of curious to see. Also, this is one of the boots location, and the other boots location is actually over there on the right side in the grave. There's actually a few other places that can technically be accessed by the boots, but not just by the boots. Like, for example, the entrance into Misery Mire, you can either do by a hookshot, or you can use the boots in order to bonk into the block. Hey, there's a hammer I did not need to defeat. Land molas for the green pendant. Probably anyways. It's still possible, I guess. Not in the follow list, but highlighted or uploaded videos show up on the latest videos list as well, so it's not much different from some YouTube channels, I guess. Well, I guess technically that is true, but you also traditionally go over to Twitch in order to directly interact with streamers and watch them live. And I would guess a smaller percentage of people actually just watch the highlights instead, or the VODs for that matter. So we can use Bomba's Medallion, probably to defeat these enemies, right? Yeah, they're dead. So that does work still. We either need Bomba's Medallion or the Fire Rod in order to defeat these enemies specifically. Which is why they actually still work here. You cannot defeat them with the sword. You have to have Fire Rod or Bombas. YouTube is offline Twitch generally. So I suppose. It does have a different feeling to it, I guess. Also now with Tempered Sword King of Somaria attacks. This is quite interesting to try and defeat enemies with, because it's not normally the weapon of choice, because generally speaking the King of Somaria does so little damage. So here, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to use a little technique known as Icebreaker. Icebreaker allows me to effectively skip a decent portion of the Ice Palace here by simply going through a wall. So, I'm gonna try my best to explain how that works. So Icebreaker is also called Door Extension, but it's called Icebreaker because it basically breaks Ice Palace in half, since the vanilla way would just take you a long time. Alright, so what I'm gonna do here is I want to clip about 1 pixel further into this railing to the right here than I normally am. Right now you can see the Moogle's nose is basically just pushing against the railing. But if I basically stand on specific pixels and then just hold down right, this was not it. This was not it. This was it. Right, as you can see, I'm basically just 1 pixel closer to the railing on the right than I would otherwise be. So as long as I keep holding down right, I'm basically 1 pixel further in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place down a King of Somaria block and release down right. Alrighty. So this automatically happens as soon as I press King of Somaria and then down right. So what I want to do is I want to push to the left for 1 frame. That is 1/60th of a second. I can do this by buffering. For example, I press left and immediately attack. And this allows me to swing my sword. And if I did it right, I can then press up or down in order to just push through this little railing here. And effectively this is called a door extension, where the game still thinks you are inside the door, and the doorway effectively allows you to travel between rooms through the walls. At least for how the game interprets it, and effectively you extend that doorway all the way over to this side. And that allows you to open up this chest much quicker and get through Ice Palace much more efficiently, which is quite nice. Now that I also have the hammer, I can actually get all the items and chests out of here, which I couldn't before. That is item number 1. There is 3 unique items in Ice Palace. I feel like calling it unique item is a bit of a misnomer, because bombs and heart pieces etc. are not exactly unique, are they? By the way, if you have ever had trouble going into this stairway here, because it's actually really weirdly difficult to get in there, what you can do is one of 2 things. If you have a hookshot, you can actually hookshot to the left side of this stairway here, and it just kind of lets you go in. Or, if you have boots, just dash into it. Dashing will help you quite a bit. Alright, defeat these little guys here. And I don't have a big key yet. So I know where the big key is. The big key is in the last chest that I haven't accessed yet, and there is still 1 item remaining. It could be on the boss, or it could be in the big chest. So, because I'm not in a race, I'm just gonna take my time to grab the big key and open up the chest and probably get nothing out of it. Oh yeah, that's right. Normally you can just dash through these enemies because you have a sword in order to dash through enemies, but, well, not right now, I guess. Oh, by the way, normally you can kill these guys. Oh, it's also kind of funny here. You can just stun these guys. Normally can't stun them with a boomerang because they just die instead. But here is actually kind of funny, because they just wiggle on the ice and they don't get anywhere. It's great. Pendant, indeed. So this is the big key. Now I go back around, up here. Ice Palace is one of these dungeons that, when I began playing Randomizer, it took me actually quite a long time to figure out how this dungeon even works. By the way, the reason why the penguin died over there, despite me using the hookshot, is because if you bonk enemies into spikes, there is the 3rd item, okay. Not a useful item, but it is the last one. If you bonk enemies into spikes, they actually take the damage from the spike, which is equivalent to a gold sword swing. Which makes it a bit awkward, because Hela actually does not take any damage from spikes. So if you ever try to defeat Hela in the vanilla game, Hela doesn't take any damage from the gold sword. So you can swing at it as much as you want and it's not gonna die. Sword beams technically deal 5 sword damage, so I guess you can defeat it that way. Or you can actually poke with the gold sword. Like hold it out and not spin or swing. That works too. Oh my goodness, I've taken way too much damage from these guys already. Also the lag is pretty extreme here. Remember, the Somaria blocks right now effectively deal damage as if I were to swing it with Pendant Sword at them. Normally these puffballs cannot be defeated with Somaria whatsoever, they don't take any damage from it. Similarly, they don't take any damage from a Fire Sword swing. Maybe I should catch a fairy sometime. Oh yeah, that's a good point. The randomizer actually fixes, effectively, the damage on Mothula. So you can actually swing at Mothula with the gold sword. But that is a fix that the randomizer employs. Alrighty. At this point, for item-wise, we are still looking for a flute in order to be able to get to Misery Mire, as well as the fire rod to clear both Skullwoods as well as Turtle Rock. There we go, that's the... Yeah, I mean, in the vanilla game, you have to go quite a bit out of your way to get Gold Sword before getting to Mothula. You have to complete Misery Mire and Ice Palace and then go and straight in your sword. A bit strange, I guess. Alrighty. In Randomizer you actually require the mirror in order to enter Swamp Palace, because otherwise the water level does not stay low. And the reason for this is because otherwise you could possibly drown the key underwater and you can no longer access it. Unless you know how to do a diver down. Which is a minor glitch that is actually allowed in this mode. So in fact I'm going to be using a diver down in this scenario here in order to get through it a little bit more efficiently through the dungeon. Oh, by the way, fun fact, if you didn't know, you can dash into a Somaria block, and it kind of bonks it around, which I did not know until I started watching some randomizer player just use the Somaria block and dash into it in order to accomplish something. It was kind of funny. Alrighty, so here we find a red boomerang. By the way, the red boomerang here, this is the only chest in Swamp Palace that is accessible without having a hammer. So I could have gotten that chest without having the hammer, as long as I have the other items to access the dungeon. But after that, you require the hammer in order to hammer these pegs down there on the left. So traditionally, you need to go to the left side of Swamp in order to get the big key, and then you get the hook shot, with which you can get the small key under this pot right here. And, well, in Randomizer, because you normally get into the dungeon with the items to clear the dungeon already, you can just grab that small key and use it on the door on the left side. And if you did that, I'm gonna do right here, you have to go and grab the small key over there on the left side of this room here. Down below, you have to go and grab the small key under that pot over there. Otherwise, you drown the small key. But I'm going to be using a little bit of a technique here. So first of all, the first part of the technique is I'm gonna put the bomb here. The bomb here is basically just going to activate the crystal switch, but the game doesn't realize it should update the crystal switch state, because I'm leaving the room before the explosion effectively can completely finish. So that's one thing, but that's kind of not technically part of the diver now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put the Somaria block here, I align myself with the railing, then I jump into the water, and then I'm holding down right after jumping into the water. So jump in the water, hold down right, and then hold right immediately. Then I can hold up left while holding out my sword, or well, not sword I guess, in order to jump down on the side of the stairs rather than going down the stairs. This allows me to walk at the bottom of the water, and the bomb I planted earlier actually activates the crystal switch, meaning it is already in the correct switch state in order to just go to the left side of swamp without having to go back around again. So this is effectively delayed crystal switch activation via bomb and coming back with it, plus diver down, which makes checking out left side swamp a lot more efficient. Still not terribly efficient, but more efficient than it was before. There's just a map in here, and piece of art. So we never had to go over here to the left side of swamp, because it didn't have anything useful. But unless you use the spoiler log in order to determine whether there's something useful here or not, you don't know. So you might just go over there anyways, or frequently enough in Randomizer, people like to just skip out on left side swamp. That is one of the most common gambles to do, because it takes quite a while to go to the left side swamp and then backtrack all the way over here again, just for potentially an item or two. Because it's also entirely possible that both the map and the compass are on the left side swamp. Alrighty, here we're gonna do the diver down thing here again. So you need the King of Somaria, or you can do it with a bomb too, that works. So I'm gonna use the King of Somaria in this case. Put it here, basically just between the railing thing, jump in the water, hold down right. I'm actually using pause buffers for this. Then hold right in this point, hold up right in order to jump down here. Or, what I also can do is there's a variation on the left side of the railing here, where you put the King of Somaria block here, push into this top left corner, go 1 pixel down and then hold up left, which also allows you to jump over here. Or there is another variation where you don't even need the King of Somaria whatsoever. Use a bomb, align yourself 1 pixel away with your shadow from the bottom line, and then do the same maneuver as you did the first time, which I messed up. Jump into the water, hold down right, hold right, wiggle a little bit, and you can jump down as well. This is basically the other variation of diver down. You know what? Oh yeah, I forgot about this. I have the big key, so I want to go and check the big chest. So this is actually kind of a weirdness. This room here, for whatever reason, just misaligns you the first time you go up these stairs, and then the second time it actually works properly. In order for you to go up the stairs properly the first time, what you want to do is you actually want to align yourself with the railing or the bottom of the wall, and then just dash up into the staircase. And then you hold right and down right in order to pass by the stair transition trigger. So, yeah. I messed up again. I don't know why I keep messing this up whenever I use bombs rather than King of Somaria. Not really any different. There we go. The bomb stays because it's the same super tile? Or the explosion earlier? Well, yes, but also the delayed activation of the crystal switch. I think the crystal switch just doesn't activate, or doesn't process the activation because it's no longer loaded, because it's off screen. But as soon as you scroll it back on screen, I think that's when it does stuff. Either way, this is gonna be a weird fight. I've never done it this way, because you don't... Normally King of Somaria does nothing here. But now, I use a King of Somaria block, and I guess I just... Wow, that is surprisingly efficient. Just hookshot the puff balls over the block, I guess. That's so weird. Kind of makes me wish that Somaria would normally be a better weapon in order to defeat enemies and bosses, but it just doesn't deal enough damage. Like, you can defeat something like the Wizrobe enemies with the Somaria, I guess, because they have only 1 HP and a Fighter Sword Swing would even kill them. But that's about it. Are you gonna run into it? No. There it is. That's neat. Oh hey, we get a flute. Nice. Oops. So with this flute we can actually go and clear out Misery Mire. We still need a fire rod, but well, we have a flute now that allows us to go more places. However, we still have to activate the flute. So if I were to just save and quit right here without doing the mirror transition to the light world, I would actually start back on the pyramid. But I want to start on the sanctuary instead. This allows me to get over to Hyrule in order to activate the flute slightly more efficiently. One thing, by the way, in the vanilla game, you actually can't have both the flute and the shovel at the same time. Similarly, you can't have the mushroom and the power at the same time. However, this is different in the randomizer. So what you can do is, if you have quick swap enabled, you can press L and R in order to switch between the 2 items, or in the menu you just press the Y button in order to switch between the items. If you have the other item, that is. Alrighty, duck. There's actually usually a pretty lengthy delay until you can call the duck after you free it immediately. So what you can do is you can either quickly switch to another item or back, or you can use the boots in order to briefly dash and then use the flute, which kind of circumvents that delay that normally happens when you try to basically immediately call a duck again. I assume this is a failsafe where the game tries to have you not accidentally use the flute the second time when you just used it in order to fly somewhere. Alright, welcome to the Misery Mire area. There's a few items that we can grab, and something maybe to note. These blocks here we can push, and if I use the mirror while they are being pushed, they disappear. Why? Well, I don't know, but this is a glitch that is exclusive to the version 1.0 of the Japanese ROM version, which is also why the randomizer actually uses the 1.0 version, because that's what all the speedrunners use too. This allows me to just spam the mirror while pushing these blocks in order to make them disappear. Clean up the carpet a little bit, so that looks a lot nicer. This does not work with any of the other versions of the game, so if you have, let's say, the Switch with, well, A Link to the Past on there, it does not work on that version, because even if you have a Japanese version, chances are it's the 1.1 version. Oh yeah, the reason why that doesn't work in dungeons is because the mirror transports you to the back to the entrance of the dungeon. Can't really do that efficiently. Alrighty, as mentioned before, you can either go hookshot across here in order to get across the gap, or you can actually bonk into this block in order to get across. And that is in fact in logic for the randomizer, so this is not something that most people would do casually. But the reason why this is considered in logic and not a glitch to bonk across gaps is because there's one room in Ganon's tower where you need to bonk across like that, or use a bomb jump in order to get across there. Because otherwise it literally doesn't work. Alright. Fun fact, these Wizrobe enemies cannot be killed by bombs. Something completely useless to know normally. Outside of some very specific randomizer settings, I guess, but hey. Also, of course, in the Somaria only mode, you can't kill them with bombs, but also in general, it doesn't work. Alrighty, Misery Mire. Not a whole lot to say about this dungeon. There's a chest here. It does have a lot of keys, only 2 unique items, but also in this case, it is actually crystal number 5 or 6. And Crystal number 5 or 6 are normally in the vanilla game Misery Mire, curiously enough, and Ice Palace. And once you clear both Misery Mire and Ice Palace, you actually can get the red bomb in the bomb shop, which opens up the entrance to the Pyramid Fairy. In the Randomizer, 2 of the dungeons are just randomly assigned to be Crystals 5 and Crystal 6. And if you get both of these crystals, you actually unlock the big red bomb, which unlocks effectively an additional 2 items location. Still don't have a fire rod, so I have to do this the slow way, I guess. With the lamp right there. Oh, there's a small key here. So a small key here is a bit of a quirk of the randomizer. This means the big key to this dungeon is guaranteed to be in its original location over here. Basically purely because of how the key logic works in this game, or in the randomizer, I guess. So I know this will be the big key here. There's a few quirks like this in the randomizer on how it basically has to distribute items in a certain way in order to guarantee that the player cannot lock themselves out of getting all the items in chests. And this is just kind of one of these examples. I'm actually kind of looking forward to defeating Vitreous with the King of Somaria, because traditionally in Zelda games, when you get an item in a dungeon, you use that item in order to defeat the boss, right? But for some reason, well, I guess because it's an early Zelda game, like this is literally the 3rd one in the series, this is not true for A Link to the Past in actually a few dungeons. There's a cape, that's nice. A little railing clip here. If you tap left and dash at the same time, you can dash through this railing here. Either way, this is not true in A Link to the Past, where you get the King of Somaria here in Misery Mire in the big chest that I'm going to be visiting in just a second. And Vitreous, you best use the bow, or even silver. Actually can't silver arrows, not in the vanilla game anyways. But yeah, King of Somaria just does not deal any damage because, well, it deals Fighter Sword level damage, and Vitreous takes no damage from Fighter Swords. You need at least a Tempered Sword attack, Master Sword attack, that way around. But now, because this is actually a Tempered Sword King of Somaria block, it's gonna be very interesting, I think. But yeah, it's a good point. The normal purpose of a King of Somaria is to hold down switches in order to enter these doorways. That's kind of why you need to get it in order to go and defeat the boss. There's a crystal switch up there that I need to hit. Ah, spikes actually block the projectile there. There's a certain thing you can do that is called a spooky action, but you need a fire rod for that. Plus, because I keep putting down Somaria blocks, because that's my weapon, I suppose, spooky action would actually be kind of difficult to implement into this randomizer here, I guess. Can you hookshot the eyes? No, the hookshot blinks off of the eyes in this game as well. Actually, now I would like for them to implement hookshot mode, where the hookshot is basically your weapon of choice. And boomerang mode. Oh, that would be great. I want all kinds of modes for this. Either way, King of Somaria does not normally work against this boss, but here... Ah, this is just great. Yeah, it's gonna do Tempered Sword damage, which is still, what, 6 hits on each of the eyes, or even 12 maybe, in order to defeat them. Or I could just do this, I guess. Actually, I'm curious. If I put... Alright, so that doesn't work. You can actually hit the eye while it is shooting its lightning. Even in the vanilla game, you can technically kill the eye before you defeat the last small eye. But that doesn't apparently work here. That phase. That's okay. Bonk. 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 By the way, this group here that I'm standing in normally damages you. But because I'm standing at the very, very right side of the wall, you actually just barely don't touch any goop. So you're perfectly safe over here. But yeah, normally this is just 1 damage every time I step in here. Until, well, the boss dies, I guess. Alrighty, and that is Misery Mire complete. There's one more item I can't get in the Misery Mire area that is normally just a piece of heart. And we know that location as the checkerboard cave. And in order to get there, we just go over here to the right. And have to mirror into the light world right here. By the way, fun fact, this is a location where you can't possibly find the Moon Pearl. Because you can't just bunny walk over here after having gotten the Titan's mitts and the flute. Alrighty, well, we still need some more items, I guess? There's no more item in Palace of Darkness, but I need to clear the dungeon anyways. Oh my god. I need to clear the dungeon anyways. Because it is a crystal, and I will need the crystal, but it's also a 5-6 crystal, so after this I will be able to pick up the big red bomb and, well, see what 2 items the Pyramid Fairy has. Oh yeah, that's right, there's 10% of damage on this thing. Oh, I forgot. I could have actually mirrored over to Sahasrara and turned in the green pendant. But, well, I forgot, so just that. So here, we get this thing. Instead of pushing the statue, we can just hold down the switch by King of Somaria block, which is very convenient. And also, well, the entire purpose of the King of Somaria blocks. And beyond that, we have to kill these guys with King of Somaria. Alrighty, after this there is not that many item possibilities remaining. We can actually enter Turtle Rock. Even though we cannot go particularly far in it, we can still enter it. In fact, well, I say you can't get particularly far, but it is technically possible for a fire rod to be on the laser bridge. But that is a very, very specific scenario, so to speak, that is very unlikely to occur in terms of key distribution. But possible. Oh wow, I was wondering, where's the second turtle? Apparently they stacked on top of each other there. So you can't kill the turtles here. Because Somaria mode. But hey. Oh, by the way, when I was a kid, I did not know you could use the hammer in order to blink down the mask. It is 17 hammer hits. And 1 hammer hit effectively counts for 4 bombs. So if you hammer him once, you can use 4 bombs in order to remove the mask afterwards. But you can run out of bombs, so just using the hammer is generally speaking faster anyways, I guess. Yeah. Just shove a kind of Somaria block in his face. Why not? Okie dokie. No. After this I'm going to briefly turn in the green pendant because I'm literally right here. And then I guess we turn in the big red bomb. Unless I get the fire rod. I'm looking for the fire rod at this point. Let's see what Azrael has today. A mushroom. Okay, we still don't know whether this is the fire rod or not. I'm immediately going to turn in the mushroom. Thanks to the flute, this is pretty quick to do. And actually another thing that can trip up some new randomizer players is because the mushroom and the powder here occupy the same slot. Sometimes you pick up the mushroom and you don't notice and you forget to track it. And you have the mushroom, and you need the mushroom in order to get the item. But you forgot that you have it. Okay, not in this case. So basically the green pendant was just a completely pointless little side quest that we did not need to do. But again, no way to know that unless you read the spoiler log. Which, by the way, if you start playing randomizers, it's actually kind of easy to do. Just find a tracker that allows you to keep track of the items, as well as locations, and it will basically just update you where you can go next or what you can do possibly. And by the way, one thing I also always like to note, A Link to the Past is not easy as a game necessarily. I know what I'm doing for the most part, and I may make it look a bit easier, but trust me, it's really not that easy. By the way, I'm gonna do a little trick here. I'm gonna just put down the bomb, and then walk over here, and the screen transition happens just as the timer hits 0, and for some reason the game gives me the bomb back, if it does that. It's called the bomb duplication. Welcome to Quirky Fix, and good evening, morning, good evening it is over here. And welcome, I hope you're doing well. No sword? We have a King of Somaria that is basically a sword. Hey, there's the fire rod. So we did in fact have to clear both Misery Mire as well as Palace of Darkness in order to get the fire rod, so we can now clear the rest of the game. But yeah, this is King of Somaria mode, which means the King of Somaria effectively acts like the sword. You upgrade it, it deals tempered sword damage currently because we haven't found the gold upgrade yet. And unfortunately the King of Somaria does not change color, but I assume that's because it would otherwise be really easy to mistake it for being the King of Byrna instead. So we go ahead and want to defeat Mothila still here. And then we have to completely complete Turtle Rock. I think there's not really a whole lot else left to do or to say. We do need the fire rod in order to open up this part. You actually don't... If you could get inside here without the fire rod, you could easily clear this dungeon with just the lamp. Because you can actually activate the torches coming up with the lamp, with some bomb jumps and stuff like that. It's not even too difficult. But because you have to get in here somehow, unless you're playing entrance randomizer, you can't really get in here. A bit of a catch, I guess. So, I'm kind of trying to take care of these mummies here. Because the problem I'm facing right now with them right now, because normally I just use a fire rod shot in order to kill them, in order to light the torches, but I'm pretty sure the fire rod doesn't deal any damage. And this mode. Also, as you can see, the vines are already cut down here. This is where you normally need the sword in order to cut down the vines in most other randomizer modes. Right, let's see how Mothula is going to work. Again, if you bonk Mothula into the spikes, it's not going to deal any damage because of the quirk on how it's coded. So we need to make sure that Mothula doesn't get bonked into the spikes. Or try to anyways, which is easier said than done. By the way, it's only 4 hits to kill Mothula, but as you could see, it feels like it was a lot more than just 4. But Tempered Sword swings, it's actually only 4. Or Hammer. If Hammer works. Alrighty, and that's everything in Skullwoods. Let's head over to Turtle Rock. Just some relaxing. Hey, that's nice. ALTTP didn't seem like enough speedruns to you. Which reminds me, that's actually an interesting point. If you have watched ALTTP, what was your favorite run? I'm just curious what people's opinion is. Currently it is January 2020. ALTTP just wrapped up yesterday, I think? Or today? I don't remember. I didn't watch the ending for once. I'm just curious. You missed it, but does the same cheese that you used on Bomb only mold and work in this mode? I actually didn't try, but it probably does. It was done 14 hours ago. I see. You didn't see too many, but you enjoyed Mzushi's Portal too. Yeah, I can imagine that. Mzushi actually also creates videos on YouTube that are very nice and informative and honestly, overall really well done. I like them a lot. So that makes a lot of sense. Ooh, and we get a raid. Wild Dog Arcade, thank you for the raid and the host. And welcome everybody to Zelda Link to the Past Randomized, but instead of a sword we have a Cane of Somaria that gets upgraded. And it's kind of as simple as that if you know A Link to the Past Randomizer. Cane of Somaria doesn't cost any magic, and it effectively currently at this point deals Tempered Sword level damage. But I don't have a sword, and no other weapon deals any damage against any other enemy. They still serve their traditional purpose. So we can light torches with the fire rod, we can stun enemies with the hookshot, but besides that, all the items do at this point is just used to do their special function. But only the Cane of Somaria actually can kill anything. Alrighty. You loved the It Takes Two run, but there were so many cool runs. Yeah, I can imagine. Blindfolded Sekiro was pretty fun. Blindfolded Sekiro sounds rather fascinating, but it's also one of these games where I don't want to watch it yet because I kinda would like to play it sometime, but I also need to upgrade my PC first probably, if Dark Souls 2 is anything to go about. Alright, these pokies are gonna be really awkward to try and take out with a Tempered Somaria block. Because normally what you want to do is you want to charge up your Tempered Sword in order to deal gold sword damage, and 2 gold sword attacks actually kill the pokies. But nothing else really does otherwise. So by the way, I'm standing on top of a elevated blue block, and I'm basically briefly invulnerable as if I got hit just now by this attack, which is why the chain jumps can't hurt me. So I'm kind of using that to my advantage, and we just go and open the chest now. And hello and welcome. I hope you're having a nice day. But yeah, otherwise, actually the first 3 attacks, until only the head remains, actually do not matter to the Pokey, because they will just always get rid of Pokey segments. The only time damage matters on the Pokeys is if you have at least Gold Sword level damage or Silver Arrows level damage, in order to, well, do more than just the very basic. There we go. Got my key. Actually, am I looking for anything at this point? I guess I could try to get a Gold Sword upgrade, but that's about it. Welcome, more guy. Hope you're doing well. Powered the anti-fairies in order to make them fairies. Actually, did not know that you could do that when I was a kid. I had no idea you could defeat these enemies that way. I did know you could transform the dead rocks and defeat them that way. So that was a thing. Actually, I'm curious whether the Ether Medallion works here. Normally it freezes enemies. Oh, it does here! Nice. Okay, so it does still freeze enemies. And we can now pick them up and throw them against each other. This is also something I didn't know when I was a kid, that you could throw frozen enemies. Neat. Alrighty. I guess the key must be in the next chest. Speaking of things I didn't know as a kid, I did not know there were walls that you could just dash into in order to break them. I didn't realize you could break any walls without having bombs. Also, once again, using the invulnerability from the blocks. And then we go through here. You can do a very tiny optimization, hookshotting here, and then just kill Somaria blocking back over. Super tiny, but hey, saves time. Can I try the bombs on the next Pokés? Sure. I would be surprised if it works, but at the same time, Ether worked, so let's see. I don't have a mirror shield, but you can either do dash in order to get through these lasers, or do a brief stop and then just kind of walk through the lasers. Hey! We got the gold key in Somaria. Well, I would like to say that, but unfortunately it still is red. Unlike the bombs, which actually do change color, and we did that same-ish mode with the bombs. Oops. And there's the key. I just needed a key and we're out of here. Memory frame counts? It can definitely count. Alrighty, let's actually briefly check whether bombs works on these guys. Nope, it doesn't. But that's interesting. The ether freeze effect still takes hold. You liked my Rogueman X video from HDQ? Oh, that was a blast from the past. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. That's a very special game. Alright, let's see how this is going to go. You have to freeze these heads and then hit them. Wow, okay. Oh, right, it's Gold Sword level damage. It only needs 3 attacks. That's amazing. Somaria is such a fascinating weapon that just... you don't get to use it as a weapon, normally. By the way, fun fact, the head of this guy is vulnerable until his middle portion blinks. As soon as he reaches the bottom left corner, that is when his middle portion starts blinking. And that's when his head is no longer vulnerable, but until then, you can hit the head actually. You assume Quake still converts into slimes? Excellent question. Quake stuns and converts into slimes normally, right? Let's actually check real quick. I'm curious. Let's see. Quake. Also, by the way, Quake is my favorite spell animation. Yep. Still slimes. It's great. Dead rocks are only in the light world, so I had to briefly switch over. Bonk. Alrighty, we have cleared out Turtle Rock. There might still be one treasure in there, but it doesn't matter. But welcome to Guinness Tower. There is 22 possible locations, and only one of them contains the big key. So feel free to guess which location it's going to be. I'm gonna say it's number 13. And yes, all the locations are actually equally possible. So this is number 1, number 2, and we have to go the other way because we didn't find a small key. Alrighty, more guys is 12. Higher Peanut, you're feeling 17. Alrighty. Let's see. This is number 3. The torch is one of the locations where it's not specifically in a chest, but it's still an item location where the big key can be. By the way, we didn't need the boots in order to get into Guinness Tower until now. This might be where you need them. Another small key here. That is item location number 5. 6. 7. Frost guy said 4. You're already past 4, but thank you for guessing. While the curse is 22. That was number 8 right there. Number 9. Actually, I'm curious, since bombs don't hurt enemies, do they hurt me? They do. I guess you otherwise couldn't bomb jump across some pits, so that would make it a bit awkward for randomizer runners. Alright. Which number was this? I'm terrible at counting, like genuinely, I'm not good at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? Wait. 1, 2 on the right side, 3 in the torch, then 4 more, it means 7 on the room, 1 in the fireball room, 8, 9 is the fire snake room. This was number 10, there we go. 11, 12, 13. Oh, I kind of wanted to fight Armos, even if I were to find the item beforehand. Or the key, I guess. Alright, upcoming is 14, I think. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, by the way. Oh, it is number 14, but we're still going to defeat Armor's Knights, because we can't use arrows on these guys. Normally their weak spot is arrows, but... King of Somaria it is today. That actually works surprisingly well. But the only reason why this works surprisingly well is because it effectively deals significantly more damage than King of Somaria would normally do. Just kind of purely because of how effectively the damage table works. But that's kind of fun. Alright, just get my money and I'm getting out of here. Oh, by the way, you can also switch between the boomerangs, but they're not upgraded. Unlike most of the other items that share a spot, I suppose. But here, you actually have to defeat the mimics with arrows. This is one of the things. Or, if you don't want to defeat the mimics, or you don't have a bow, or no more arrows, what you can do is a little trick here, where I'm basically going to clip these guys into the block, and go bye-bye. And the funny thing is, these beamers here in this room no longer shoot me because I think their vision cone is supposed to be an enemy. Or is I don't know why. Basically they don't shoot right now. But we can just let this guy go. Goodbye. And they disappear as soon as I enter this room, unfortunately. Can't take them over here. Blue cane works too. Blue cane actually works surprisingly well against Armor's Knights, that is very true. Because it just gathers them up and you yourself are invulnerable, so you don't actually take any knockback. Blue cane is a really good solution for Armor's Knights. Aside from it costing magic. It's actually kind of cheap to just keep it active the entire time through. I hit the guy on the left side with that Somaria block right there. Actually, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna send this kind of Somaria block on a journey. And kind of wanted it to go in a circle, but the enemies kind of didn't want that. That's okay. But now, land molas, it is 2 hits with the gold sword normally in order to kill 1 land molas. And I'm pretty sure they will just get killed by this block directly, by me just putting it on top of them. Aw, unless they do a really quick jump, I suppose. Okay, not Byrna mode seems like it would be fun too. It could be fun. We can do that sometime. So this is the one room where you normally want to use King of Somaria, because it's just so efficient to kill these Wizrobe enemies. Just bonk bonk. And you can kill all of them really quickly. Unless you miss the inputs, which I just did. But that's alright. Oh, hey, let's do this. Let's ride the elevator all the way up. What a meanie. Ah, he fell down. Yeah. Hi. Fun fact, if you dash and kill an enemy, do a dash with while having a sword, not in this mode in specific. They actually never drop an item. Which I did not know for the longest time. But enemies literally can't drop items when you kill them by dashing through them with the boots. There's actually a lot of attention to detail in this game. It's pretty amazing. Don't need these chests. Yes, we have basically everything we need anyways. Actually, I guess we could get hard magic. Maybe I should just open some chests. Alright. Hi, Moldorm. 2 hits and Moldorm will be toast. Or 2 contacts, I guess, with the kind of Somaria block. Alrighty, now, let me try to do this. I messed this up last time. Dash into this room. Hold left. Dash up. Dash up. Oh yeah, right, it doesn't work because I don't have a sword. Normally it just bonked out that little Helmasaur out of the way. But it's a really neat little strategy. You can do that room in order to go slightly more efficient. Alrighty. We could use the hammer in order to bonk back the projectiles. But it's actually significantly more difficult than using the bugnet. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually using an item dash with the bugnet in order to dash with the bugnet, which effectively creates a constantly active hitbox in front of me in order to make it more easy to actually bonk back the projectiles, because genuinely trying to use the bugnet the normal way actually a lot more difficult than this. Probably the biggest difficulty in Swordless Mode, which this game does have a Swordless Mode. Normally you just need the hammer for a lot of things. Aghanim 2 in Swordless Mode is actually kinda difficult, especially if you don't have boots or a bugnet for that matter. The hammer is a terrible weapon to try and deal with this guy. Alrighty, let's see. Final boss fight, but the Cane of Somaria is our weapon. He also has some random accuracy every time. The Enrichment Center would like to remind you that the companion duck will not betray you, and in fact cannot speak. Okay, I think that was 4 hits so far. We only need 6 hits in order to push him into phase 2. 1, 2, 3, 4... and 6 more in order to push him into phase 3. There it is. And we are in phase 3. In phase 3 it does not matter how much damage you deal. You just need to hit him as soon as he does the jump. Oh my goodness. Hit number 2. Hit number 3. And I'm curious how this last phase is going to work. Oh no, silver! My one true weakness. Okay, you do need the silver arrows in this mode, basically. Which is funny, in the bomb mode you did not need silvers at all. Right. Now, I'm actually curious whether we can effectively do this silverless right here. I didn't hear whether it actually dealt contact damage to him just now. Try again. Don't think that works. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that does not work. Alright, let's do the traditional way, I guess. Light the torches, then you need to hit him once, normally with a sword, but in this case Cane of Somaria. And then we hit you with silvers. This is attack number 3 with silvers. We need 2 more shots, and if you line it up properly, you can actually get double or even triple hits on him. And that's that. Zelda Link to the Past randomized, but with Cane of Somaria instead. And split. The windfish will wake soon. Hoot hoot. The poisson rêve. I think they call it the dreamfish in French. The first time I ever completed Zelda Link's Awakening, the Game Boy game, it was actually in French, because the other option was in English. And at that time, we knew more French than English. So, never actually had a German version for that game. Thank you for the GGs, everybody. I appreciate it. And yeah. This was Zelda, A Link to the Past randomized. If you hold the X button, you can actually speed up the credits in order to get to the statistics and the more interesting things a bit more quickly, which is quite a nice feature. And that's kind of all I have for today. So, since this is going to be a highlight that I'm gonna put on YouTube, I would like to inquire if anybody watches this on YouTube. Was this interesting? Yes, no, maybe. But at the same time, I hope you all had a good time. I hope you enjoyed your stay. I hope you have a good morning, evening, afternoon, and hopefully until next time. Take care and have a good night. And yes, the sped up credits is a randomizer feature. Apparently, we had a lot of bees. I didn't even realize that. Alright, good night everybody. Take care.